Hello, good morning everyone. Happy Saturday. Don't know how it is where you are tuning in from, but I am in Colorado and we have snow again. So I am really over this cold weather. I am ready for spring to come and actually stay for a while. So hopefully we will see a turn for the better, but Colorado's pretty insane. We can get snowstorms all the way into June sometimes. So I'm really praying it just knocks it off after Mother's Day, because I am a gardener and I am excited to get my garden planted early and get really, set and prepped this year so that I can have a decent harvest. But we shall see. I am waiting until after Mother's Day weekend, because last year I planted on Mother's Day weekend and I lost like half of my crops because we got a late snowstorm. So we shall see. Just giving it a couple seconds here to see if anybody joins me live. If you do, please say hello. I love to just see who's tuning in, where you're tuning in from, and just to connect with you all here today in a little section of the internet. If you've found your way here, welcome, welcome. A quick introduction for those who are new. My name is Jessie Sletton, and I am your postpartum empowerment coach. And I help pregnant and newly postpartum parents feel as calm, confident, and prepared for your transition into parenthood as you do for your birth. So many of us focus on our birth planning and on our registry and all of the things that are kind of more tangible things that we can look forward to the birth of our baby. And whether this is the first time or the, consecutive second, third, fourth, fifth baby that we've had, we tend to heavily focus on the birth experience, as we should. I'm not here to argue against that. I think it is extremely important that we feel seen, heard, and in control during our birthing experience. But so many of us just don't translate that into the fourth trimester, into, everything after birth. And I've said this last time as well, but birth is just the beginning, and it's so important to remember that. It's just the beginning of our journey. It's not the end. So we have to be prepared for not only our, understanding of how to care for our infant and how to connect with them and how we want to feed them and all of these things, but it's important that we understand how to care for our own body, how we care for our healing birthing wounds, how we figure out how to replenish our nutrient stores that have been severely depleted from pregnancy. And doing all of this and figuring it all out is not something that we are taught at all. It's not something that is readily available like birthing classes are. It's just not as easily done for us or provided for us, so that we can't, join a class for, a weekend like we do birthing classes or nursing classes and then feel prepared. It's just not as available for us. There's not as much of a focus on the postpartum time frame. And this is at our own detriment as a society. We are seeing increasing rates of maternal mental health issues. We are seeing maternal death rates go up. It's a really devastating impact. And so it's so important that until our society can get their shit together and we start making these huge strides at a societal level with changes in, our laws and support systems and all of those things, that we try to figure this out for ourselves and find the resources that are in our local communities, and to work with folks like me, an empowerment coach, a postpartum coach, who is well versed in maternal mental health, who can help you figure out how to nourish your body as a postpartum nutrition professional. All of these things that are out there, but they're just not as readily available. So if you found my corner of the internet, I'm so happy you're here, because you will find resources for this. And these trainings that we're doing this week and next are all about really preparing a recovery space for yourself and for bonding with your little one before they arrive. And we've talked a lot about some of the things that you can do to create a really supportive environment. And I think that this is really important, that we have this space set aside for ourselves before birth, because then we can actually know we have a place to retreat to after we bring baby home, or if we're doing a home birth, this can be, part of the birthing space too. But we really want to make it supportive and comfortable. So be sure to check back on my feed This is my Instagram, folks, so I'm looking at you right now. You can go back and look at the previous trainings I've done on my feed. If you're on my Facebook here, I have it in my group as well as on my public profile. You can go back and look at the other trainings in the series. Today, we are going to dive into creating a feeding station in your recovery space. And this is a really important one for making things convenient for you, no matter how you choose to feed your baby. Whether you are going to be bottle feeding or you're going to be chest feeding, having a specific setup for yourself can make it really easy for you to have everything you need within reach so that you can focus on resting and healing and not running all over the place trying to find your supplies. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm just going to say hello here to my friends who have joined me live. Hello, I would like to support this program. Wonderful, thank you so much. Hey Dave, I'm glad you're here. Let me just check over here on Facebook, see if I have anybody live. And I do apologize, sometimes my live dashboards don't show me comments coming in. So if I don't see you and I don't say hello, please know that I do appreciate that you're here. And if you have questions or comments that I don't see on a live broadcast, I will come back and treat those very kindly in the comments section after I post the replay. All right, so let's dive in today and talk about setting up this feeding station. So I'm just going to give you some of my top tips for what you should try to have in your feeding station. And the first thing is trying to have one place for everything. And one of the things that I like to recommend is what I call a nursing caddy or a feeding caddy. And you can just buy one of those like travel caddies, like even a shower caddy can work. You might want something a little larger though. So if that's the case, you can have the caddy inside a either basket, or I love those wheelie carts that you can buy. I think I've seen them as cheap as $30 at some stores like Target, Walmart, even online on Amazon. You can find these wheeling carts, and this is great because that way you don't have to lift anything heavy because you don't want to be straining your core or lifting too many things, especially for my C-section warriors. The name of the game is rest, you guys. You don't want to push yourself too soon after having your baby. So having a wheelie cart is great because if you want to move from the bed to the chair to be able to feed, you can easily just kind of cart this thing around, right? So that's one of my biggest tips is to invest in one of those. Like I said, they're not too expensive. You can even put it on your baby registry if you want. It's a great item to put on there that will actually be something useful for you. So that takes care of having the place for these things, right? So what do we put into our feeding station that can be really helpful? This is not a complete list. These are just some of my top tips. I go into a lot more detail into what else you can do, products that I recommend, things like that in my P4 program. Really quickly, that is my group program that we focus on this and so much more for preparing for postpartum. I have a 5-pillar support system plan that we work on together. And this is so key because it's a holistic approach to preparing for postpartum. And it is going to make you feel completely supported and prepared. We look at your support systems. We look at building out strategies and resources if you have some gaps in that support system. We work on creating an infant care and feeding plan that you work with your partner. If you are partnered, it is working together so that from the very beginning, we're trying to really share that parenting load, okay? It's so important to have these conversations with your partner and with your support team beforehand so we all are on the same page when it comes to how you're going to be caring for baby, who's going to take over responsibilities outside of baby care, for example, household support, taking care of older children. We talk about all of that and so much more in this program. So if this is something that you're interested in learning more about, I do a free coffee chat. I have my coffee here with me this morning. It is totally relaxed. We just get together like this where we can connect face to face. We can connect heart to heart. We can talk about what it is that you are trying to accomplish for your postpartum experience. We talk about your systems and maybe where those gaps are ahead of time so that we can kind of have a more focused approach when you're in the program. And the biggest piece of this too is that you get a community. So it's a hybrid program where you get coaching from me weekly for 3 straight months on, working through your postpartum plan, working through any obstacles that you might run into. I help you reach out to resources in your local community and help you do some of that research. And then you're building these relationships with other parents who are in the same community. So let's chat, schedule a coffee chat with me. My Instagram folks, you can find that link in my bio here, and just schedule some time with me and we'll chat about it and see if it's a good fit for you. Facebook folks, I have a pinned comment here in the video at the top that has the link directly for you, and I can also put it in the caption of this video once I post it. So, all right, so let's talk about those items inside our nursing station. So of course, you're gonna wanna have some burp cloths, okay? Babies spit up. No matter what they eat, whether it's formula, whether it's human milk, they are going to have some burping issues, and sometimes some stuff comes up, right? So it can be messy. You can also have some leaking, whether it's from the bottle or from the breast. So you want to make sure you have some things that you can use to clean yourself up. I had a spewer for my second baby, and he was a very messy eater. And my husband and I always joked that we needed to invent like a full body bib, because we would end up just drenched after every feeding. So it's always good to be prepared. You may need more than burp cloths. You may need some extra set of clothes for yourself set aside, so that if you do have some of that, you can still feel taken care of. You don't have to live in shirts that have spit up on them all the time. And I know we see that and joke about that a lot, but you know, you want to be taking care of yourself. You want to have those extra items on hand. So that's always good to have. Next up is nipple cream. So if you are choosing to chest feed, you might need this for some comfort. Also, if you're choosing to pump, sometimes we can have some soreness there as well. And so having just some sort of barrier cream or some sort of nourishing cream to help with that can really ease that pain and discomfort. You know, there's a lot of different options out there. We talk about some of those options in the P4 program. It just depends on what works best for you and your family and what aligns with your beliefs and what you feel good about for using as far as products go. But that's always important to have something like that on hand. Something that we want to talk about too, which we talk about more too, I'm a certified lactation counselor, so we talk about how we can ensure we're not getting sores or cracked nipples or any of those things to begin with. But it's always good to have this on hand, because we do get sore, even when we have good latching, even when our flanges are fitted correctly for our pumps, all those things. So always have some good nipple cream on hand. Another thing you might want to consider stocking up on are some breast pads, whether those are reusable ones. I'm a fan of those. You can have disposable ones as well. Or if you don't want those, little leaky milks to go to waste, you can also consider getting a milk collector. The Haka brand has a really great milk collector that I like a lot. This is not sponsored. I'm just kind of sharing my own personal preferences. But it's definitely a great thing to have on hand, because when you are nursing or you're pumping, if you're choosing to chest feed, you can, collect the letdown on the other side if you're not doing both sides at the same time. So that's a nice thing to have on hand as well. Something else that you may or may not need, this depends on how your nursing journey is going, but if you are needing a nipple shield for whatever reason, it's always good to have some spares in your feeding station, because you might need to use them back to back, and you don't want to be using any dirty equipment. So it's really nice to have some extras on hand. And they also sell like cleaning wipes for pump parts and for nipple shields that you could have in your little feeding station as well. And that can help you kind of clean things in between feedings as another option. I'm just going to make sure I don't have any questions. Facebook is where I sometimes get my problems. If you were live with me last Thursday when we did our training, my computer just decided to shut down mid-training. So that was kind of sad. So I'm sorry, my Facebook friends. I'm hoping we have some good luck. I restarted my computer. I did all the techie things I should do before this training. So hopefully we'll have a lot smoother of a training. I don't see any questions on here, and I'm caught up on Instagram. So let's dive into my next tip. and that is having hydration available for yourself. So definitely having a filled water bottle nearby. You need to stay hydrated, whether or not you're chest feeding. You have to stay hydrated to be able to help your body flush out the toxins after birth, and just really helping you stay hydrated for your healing. And if you are choosing to chest feed, you need to have yourself well hydrated to be able to stay up with your milk supply. So make sure you have a water bottle nearby. Some other things that I suggest for hydration that might be good is shelf-stable coconut water. It can be a really great way to stay up on your electrolytes and just give you a different option other than just water all the time for staying hydrated. So those are really great options to have on hand as well to stock up on. And kind of on the heels of that, we're going to really focus on stocking up on nutrient-dense snacks for you. You need to keep up with your nourishment. It's so important for your healing, for balancing your hormones, for keeping up with milk supply if you choose to chest feed, and for helping your body heal deeply after birth. Nutrition is one of those very overlooked yet powerful tools that we can have in our recovery tool belt. And stocking up on the snacks that are going to be easier for your body to digest post-birth and that are going to be higher in fat, vitamins, and nutrients, and as well as protein, are the best options to have on hand. I shared a reel earlier, I think it was last week, where one of my favorite snack ideas was to have a salmon or tuna packet that you can stock up on because they're shelf stable, they're high in omegas, they're high in protein, and they can be really easy to reach for. So those are a little quick tip for you to have in your feeding station that is easy to kind of buy ahead of time, that you can have ready to go. I go into a ton of detail on nutrition in the P4 program. It is a huge cornerstone to the work that I do as a postpartum nutrition professional. I am trained in understanding how the postpartum body is so different as far as digestion and the nutrients and all of the things that it needs differently than any other time in our lives. And so that's something that I educate on in the P4 program. And it is something that I give a lot of information, a lot of snack ideas, a lot of meal ideas and tips and tricks to keep up on your nutrition and your nourishment in postpartum. All right, let's move on to my last few tips for stocking up on essentials. So entertainment. You are going to be snuggled in, and we've talked about this in the past trainings where I really want you to approach this time frame as a lie-in time frame, where you are minimizing the amount of time you are attending to other things other than rest, recovery, and bonding, and getting to know your baby and getting to know yourself again after birth, and really working on this is such a fleeting time frame. And if we try to rush through it, it can have, consequences down the line for our own personal health, our mental health, and so many more other things. So really, if you're able to follow that 5-5-5 rule that I shared in the first training of this series, and I have a whole additional training on it that you can find on my feed or in my group for my Facebook folks, that I go into a lot of detail about what that 5-5-5 rule is. But you're going to want to have something that keeps you entertained, right? If you're feeding a lot with baby, which you will be with, they go through their cluster feeding stages, whether or not they are nursing or they're bottle fed, they still cluster feed. So it's something that not a lot of people are aware of. They get fussy, they sleep a lot, even though it's kind of contradictory when we hear, oh, you'll never sleep with a newborn. Newborns actually do sleep quite a bit at the beginning. So you might get bored, right? You're sitting in bed and you love staring at your baby, and that's wonderful, but you might want some other options too. So having some entertainment nearby in your feeding station can be great. So books, magazines, that can be kind of hard sometimes if you only have one hand, but your phone or an iPad can sometimes be really helpful. Your Nook, if you have one of those for books, can be great. And of course, you're going to want to have chargers nearby. So if you are able to have a plug by you. It's always great to have your entertainment and technology things juiced up enough so that you have that ready to go. All right, and then another thing to have on hand too, which is similar to what we talked about already a little bit, but having your pump supplies ready to go. Making sure that they are clean and you have multiple, of what you might need, like flanges or little duckbills or whatever it is that your pump uses for their supplies, having that ready to go, having an organized system and basket. And this is where we really want to lean on our supports. You don't need to be up sterilizing pump parts and cleaning and doing all of that. That is something that can easily be delegated to somebody in your support team to help you with, so that you can really focus on lying in, okay? But having those supplies nearby can be very helpful. And then of course you want something snuggly. So I always recommend a really soft, comfy blanket. I'm sitting with mine right now. This is my favorite blanket. My brother gave this to me for a Christmas gift a while back. But it's so warm and snuggly and soft, and that can really help you guys just snuggle in together, you and your baby. You can be warm sometimes with our hormone fluctuations, especially right after birth, and if we are continuing with our chest feeding journey. Our hormones are going like this, right? And sometimes that can affect our temperature. We can get chills, we can get a little hot. So it's always nice to have varying layers available to us between your clothing options, and then having nice snuggly blankets of different weights can be really helpful too. Okay, so this was stocking up on our nursing station supplies for this particular training. I gave a ton of tips, some of my favorite things to include in your nursing station, how to organize it. But again, this is just the tip of the iceberg. So if you are interested in learning about enrolling in the P4 program, please feel free to set up that coffee chat I mentioned at the beginning. I'd love to just connect with you and get to know you, get to know how your journey is going so far, your hopes, dreams, fears, obstacles, all the things that I can help support you through to make your postpartum time frame one where you are thriving and not just surviving. And you need the support. It takes a village to raise a child. It also takes a village to nurture a new parent. And so be sure that you are focusing some time on creating that in your postpartum planning. And I'm here to help you with that. So please schedule some time with me. Let me know what you thought about the training. If you found this mini series helpful, some aha moments, maybe some things you didn't think about to include in what we've talked about so far. I'd love to hear the feedback or any ideas you might have to add to this list. Can always be super helpful for not only you, but for everybody else who is following along. So thank you so much for joining. Those of you who join me live, those of you who catch the replay, thank you for watching, and let me know if you have any questions or how I can help support you. And we will see you on Tuesday. We're going to dive into more of this information on how to stock up on essential items for not just baby, but for you as the postpartum parent. So that's going to be Tuesday. So be sure to join me for that as well. All right, everybody, we'll see you next time.